Welcome to the GrowthPro Edge. We're here to help scale your business, build stronger teams, and sharpen your leadership skills. I'm your host, Denise Killian with the GrowthPro Group and Trainertainment. And today on the GrowthPro Edge, we're talking about team building and why it matters more than ever for companies. Strong teams don't happen by accident. They're built through trust, communication, collaboration, and shared experiences. And today, I'm joined by Carlo D'Amore from Live in Theater, who creates unique experiences that get teams working together, thinking differently, and having fun. Carlo, thank you so much for being a guest on the GrowthPro Edge. I am thrilled to be meeting you.
I'm excited to be here. Woohoo!
Listen, we are going to have a great conversation. I am super pumped about it.
Okay, great.
And I'm excited. I always love talking about team building and the importance of getting outside of your work environment and having some opportunity to see each other, relate to your coworkers in a different way, and how impactful that is on your business. So we met, and you were telling me about your company, and it's
Yeah.
just a fascinating story. So let's start off, Carlo,
Okay.
and tell the people who you are and what you do.
My favorite subject. Me. So I will tell you, my name is Carlo D'Amore, and I am a bunch of things, but I am professionally, I'm an actor, writer, director, producer, and an entrepreneur. I started a couple of different ventures, and in 2009, I started a company called Live in Theater. It's also pronounced Live in Theater, up to you, whatever you want. The whole idea with the company is that you're living inside the theater. Why, Denise? Because it's not traditional theater. It's not, you're just going to sit there and watch. Oh, no, 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 no. In fact, when we did the shows in the real world before COVID, and I'll talk to you about that and how that changed things, you knew you were doing a live in theater show when the audience, because it's literally, so I jump, but you're with me, right? The shows are true crime mysteries. So, which is hilarious because that's my bread and butter because I'm not a puzzler. I'm not like if I do an escape room, I don't know about you, but I'm the person in the corner who's just standing there. I'm kind of useless when it comes. It's not that I don't like it. It's just I'm just not. It's not my thing. And the fact that I've sort of we've been called murder mystery on steroids. We've been called a bunch of other things, and I'll tell you why. But anyway, before I get lost in my in my own voice, when we were doing shows in the real world, it's typically an actor surrounded by a team of audience members, and you knew you were doing a live-in theater show if the audience did this at first. They're like, "Wow," because it was
Right?
so in your face. And why is that important? Because and I think part of it is because I'd never done a murder mystery before, and I'm all about story, 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 and more importantly, character, 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 character. It's almost like the murder, the puzzle solving became like a second there, a second element that people absolutely love. So I started the company in 2009, and it's just, do you want the background? How I started it?
Well, I mean, you started the company when we talked, and you were telling me about this. You started the company, and it was you come across this crazy book of
Yeah.
old unsolved and solved crimes from this neighborhood in New York.
Yeah.
And it came to you to, you know what? Let's create a production that is on the streets
Yeah.
where the audience participates in helping to solve the crime.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great recap. I'll just finesse a couple of other additional things. So I was living in the Lower East Side, which is the melting pot of American. When they say the American melting pot, it is literally the Lower East Side. It's the immigrant Lower East Side where all these different cultures came in. As far as American history goes, nothing could touch the Lower East Side. Just the volume and the histories and the German, Irish, Italians, Jews, blah, 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 for generations. And I am an immigrant, so I moved into that neighborhood. And I was working at a museum, and I saw the gentrification. That's what it was. The neighborhood is changing before my eyes. I'm living there for a couple of years, and all of a sudden people are starting to come. So all of a sudden the mom and pop little business is going out of business, and all of a sudden it's becoming a boutique. So I'm like, oh, people are coming, they're doing walking tours, and I'm a theater person. So how do I do what I do in the theater and involve people in a different kind of way? And I stumbled upon this book called Criminals in America, written by Thomas F. Burns, the first chief of the first investigative unit in New York City. The guy was kind of a maverick, Irish immigrant himself, cop, typical, and he was also a writer. And he wrote this book. He's the guy that invented the idea of the mugshot. So photography had just been invented, and he was like, we should photograph the criminals. Boom, brilliant, And he came out with this book, and it has a bunch of pictures. So there'll be a picture of Denise and the crime she commits, a picture of Carlo, the crime I commit. Yay! And there were different aliases because everybody had multiple aliases because they didn't have IDs. You got pulled over, they didn't ask you for ID. They didn't have those things that we don't think about. Anyway, in the back of this book, he had written essays about very high profile cases before his time, murders that had not been solved. And one of them was the Ryan case. It happened in the year 1873. It was a brother and a sister. So out of all the cases, it was the only one that was a double homicide, and it was very personal, brother and a sister. And he basically had written 2 pages of like the night of how, somebody had opened up a window and screamed murder, and the beat cops that were patrolling the Lower East Side hear they hear murder, and one of them does the alarm rap, and the alarm rap is basically cops always have billy clubs, and the streets are cobblestoned. Right, so very much like you're putting your ear to the railroad track to hear the train coming. You hit
Right.
the stick on the cobblestone and it reverberates, and another cop hears it, and they go towards the sound, and they walk into the building, lit matches, and he's describing all this. And the brother's found downstairs, and he keeps and blood everywhere, and he goes upstairs. They go upstairs, they find the sister and the landlord who's drunk, and blah 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 blah. So I took that as a starting material, and somebody around that time was trying to hire me to give tours, and I didn't want to do that, but I said it sounds great but not really for me. But I said, but I have a really wonderful project for your student group of 150 students that are coming to New York City in 3 months. And I pitched the idea, and she went, oh my God, it sounds amazing. I said, I know it is. And she said, booked. It's booked. And I went, great. And I had to hurry up and make it.
Right, right.
So
Because at that point, it was just this idea
it
you
was
had in
just
your
this
head.
essay. It was just this essay and an idea. And then basically I spent I got some incredible actors on board, and we just kind of figured it out. And basically in this essay there's the landlord, and there's the dead brother and dead sister. And so we created all of it. And basically the audience would come into a neighborhood, Chinatown, fantastic neighborhood, and they would meet Thomas F. Burns, this cop, who, because of the corruption in the police force was so out of control, he was deputizing these audience members. I have no one else but you. Will you do it? And they'd say, yes. And then there would be different teams of audience. This is important because you're going to see how it became something completely different. There'd be different teams. They'd have a map of the surrounding area, like a 4-block square, and they'd head out into the streets of the Lower East Side. I'm sorry, Chinatown, and they meet a character on a stoop, and this is everybody's wearing 1800s period costumes. The women are wearing hoop skirts. There's a coal seller on the street corner selling coal, right, to the pedestrians walking by. The most amazing thing about New York, one of the great things, is that we were doing these shows for such a long time. They were becoming such hits that local New Yorkers from the neighborhood would play in. In fact, when we
Oh,
jumped
I
in with
love that so much.
we did a show about the 1970s. This is like a year later. We did a show 1970s, very grimy New York City. And the cops New York City cops knew exactly where all the characters were because they would see us with these crowds of people and they'd roll down the window, "Hey, Trixie, looking good, baby." The audience would be like, "Oh my God, everybody is in on it." It was so amazing. So, and that was the very first show was called Orion Case 1873. And we were in operations for a couple of years and we were nominated for a Drama Desk Award, which is a huge accomplishment. And then with the 1970s shows, CBS came to one of our shows. I didn't even know that they were there because it was just like, oh, I was wearing every single hat possible. And they came, CBS, and they named us top 6 attractions for groups in New York City, which was a huge game changer for us. Because then anybody's coming into New York City and they're putting group activity and we're popping up on CBS, right? And then that's when we started seeing more and more corporate groups. Why corporate? For the same reason general public would come. It's really unique. We don't play farce, so the shows are not hammy. They're hilarious, but hilarious for different reasons because the actors are so connected and we're tapping into the audience's childlike sense of play, which is still what we do. Um, and so there's all of that. It would happen indoor and outdoor, but it was also team building because you had to solve really intricate puzzles. So we started doing more and more corporate audiences. Before COVID, we were in Austin, Texas. We were in obviously New York. We were in Florida. We were in Cocoa Beach. We were in Miami. We were doing private events in LA. We were in Madrid, Spain. And we were talking to China about taking our shows to China, and then COVID hit, and it was all over. And secretly, don't tell anybody. Secretly, I was super excited because it was so much work, super
Yes.
grateful, but it was a lot of work. And then one of my actors said we should do our shows on Zoom. And we got a PPP loan to keep our actors employed during the height of COVID. You know what it was like. And our shows took off and we started working with booking agencies. These are companies that booked us in the real world for corporate shows who are now shifting to virtual programming. And we started playing for companies literally all over the world, as far east as Singapore, every English speaking country in the world. Very accessible, the click of a link, and you have these incredible actors that come to you. We're averaging between 400 and 600 performances a year, which is way more than even Broadway houses do.
I was
Um,
going to say that's a tremendous amount of shows. And like a couple of things that I just want to key in on. I love the organic growth that happened. You had this idea and you were just like, you know what? I'm going to figure this out and have this really cool experience. And it was meant to be solely the purpose was artistic creation.
a
Just
1000%.
involve the right and involve an audience and have a unique theater experience out on
Yep.
the streets
Yep.
that then morphed and grew into
A
something
business.
bigger. And then this business that was bi-coastal and across the ocean.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit. And so you have to reinvent yourself again, like so many businesses did.
Yeah.
And now you're doing more business than you ever could have if you were only in person.
For
Right.
sure. For sure.
Yeah.
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 And that
It's
was
just wild, isn't it? I love
it.
this story.
It is totally wild, and it's not like it was a lot of it was accidental. Just I was telling you earlier, and I think because it makes sense to how we were able to take this format and transfer it to virtual. So the audience, this is the real shows in the real world, comes into one space, one main breakout room, right? And then they get broken up into different teams, separate breakout rooms, and they go to the breakout rooms, and instead of the audience walking to the actors get sent in one after the other and you interrogate them, and then we all, so it flowed perfectly into Zoom. And there's things that we can do virtually that we were never able to do. For example, we can have, and it helps to the world, to the immersion of it, because they are immersive. Like we have a background that sets the tone, right? And then there's sound score. Like there's a piece that's set in the American South. There's crickets in the background, or there's faint music coming from the bar next door. So it becomes more and more immersive. And for us, if we were doing in-person shows for 200 people, which we did, oh my God, it's a lot. It's super chaotic, super fun, but it's a lot. Now we can
Yes.
do 300 people and very manageable. And nobody, like our actors, that's another thing, that we've been able to employ actors for such a long time and pay them really well. And then they roll up to their computer and they absolutely love it, because most acting gigs don't allow you to work remotely. So actors go on trips and they bring their screen and their costume pieces, and then they are doing it, so it's worked. Yeah, it was a blessing for us, COVID, and our ability to adapt. I mean, that's why we're still here, because
Yeah.
I don't know if you've had the experience, but for us, whenever there was like a disaster, a potential, oh my God, how do we do that? It was always like, oh, yeah, gift. Oh, gift. Everything that seemed like a disaster always turned into an opportunity.
Yeah. If you have the right mindset and you open yourself up to it, right?
Yeah.
If you just collapse in the calamity of it and the emergency of it, then you're not gonna get through. But
Yeah.
if you open up and lean into it, and this is what we have to do, how do we get there? That creates so much opportunity and does often become a
Yeah.
gift, right?
Yeah, I mean that speaks also to the in the beginning I was doing, as a business owner, just doing everything, and it was so overwhelming and so much work, and I wasn't like the best boss ever, I would just like lose it, and I was like, "Oh my God," I was so overwhelmed, and I would oftentimes I called it, I eventually, the actors would call it the live in theater sink or swim school. I'd be like, the audience is coming, go. Like, and actors, oh my God, one of the most amazing things for me as a lifelong performer, and I grew up at a time where I had a mentor, which was such a rarity, it's such a rarity now, but somebody that instilled a value of, like, what it means to be an actor in the theater, and the craft of it. So for me, it's always like that's number one. And I would see actors literally blossom like in 3 months, because guess what, Denise? We have no time, and I need you to play all of the female parts in all of the three shows. I need you
Yeah.
to learn them, and then you'd be like, okay, more roles, and then it was literally like the sink
Figure
or
it out.
swim. Figure
Yeah.
it out, figure it
Yeah.
out, people.
And listen, I was a broadcast journalist for 30 years before I started doing this. And so much of that is, we have a deadline. The audience is coming,
Yep.
right? They're tuning in at this time. It doesn't matter if all the cameras died and the power went out at the station, and we got to figure it out, get the extension cord, and let's go.
I mean, you
You figure
learn
it out.
so much. You learn
Yes.
so much, and more importantly, you realize it's okay. It's okay if it's not perfect, and it's never going to be perfect. That's the other thing that I always say, like actors, all actors are different. Some actors would be like, yeah, but I need to get, I'd say, you're never going to get it right. You're never, because it's art. There's
Yeah.
never going to be like a day where, okay, I did it. No, you never get to that. It's a
Yeah.
quest, an unending quest to be able to keep working on it. It's like working out. It's like you're never gonna get that body, because there's always gonna be, something.
Right. No, absolutely. Absolutely. So I love the genesis of this. And now you are wildly successful and sought after for corporations and groups to come for team building.
Yeah, and sorry, go on. Go on.
Oh, no, no, no. So I want to talk about, that wasn't ever your intent when you
No, it
started
wasn't.
this,
It,
right?
it wasn't. It wasn't my intent, and none of it was my intent. I literally, I was just like, I had been fairly successful as an actor, but I wanted more. So I stopped thinking like an actor and just started thinking like a creator. I have, and I'm so grateful for this, and like an unending like creative flow that just always new idea, new idea, new idea. So I didn't want to wait for somebody to decide I was right for this or that. So I just started making, but genuinely, it was just to create art. And then all of a sudden it becomes a business. And I was like, oh my God, how did this happen? But then I was like, okay, great. Well, it's paying my bills. So that's amazing. And I'm able to hire actors and we're creating really good work. So it's a win-win. But it's if you didn't intend it, then there's a lot of growing pains and like figuring out how to make the business manageable. And the more that when we shifted, and now it's 95% corporate audiences that come to us, the team building has um the clarity of what it is that we do and the high level of team building that we create is constantly surprising to me. Listen, at the end of the day, this is spot on true. 99%, 98% of the people who come, they're like, oh my God, that was so much fun. That was so much fun. They usually say, can we do another one? Right. And we have a huge retention rate. Like 80% of the people come second, third, fourth, fifth show, which is amazing. But there are some people, in my opinion, the people who are very perceptive that understand. We had I'll give you a couple of examples. We had a woman from Google. She's a longtime colleague of ours now, and very early on, she came to one of our shows and virtual shows, and I think it was 21. I'm not sure, but she brought like 50 or 70 people, I think, from the engineering department in one of the offices here, and that there everybody was virtual because of COVID. And she called me right after, and she said, "Carlo, I have to tell you." And I was like, oh, did something happen? I was freaked out for a second. No, she said, no, I have to tell you, I had such an unusual experience. Um, during the show multiple times, but the first time it happened, I had never heard everybody in my team laugh at the same time. And she said, I've been working with some of these people for years. And then she said, I realized I actually had never heard some people laugh. And so she's not talking just about the laughter, but she's talking about what for an hour, hour and a half, or 2 hours, depending on the size of the group, what these shows do. And we do
Brought everybody together.
bring everybody together in a way, that's completely unexpected. They do not expect it. We see people sometimes, if they don't know us, they're like this in the beginning. And then halfway in, and then they're like, and then they're like so excited. We're tapping into, I know this sounds kind of corny sometimes, but it's true. We're tapping into the childlike sense of play. And the way we do that is we play everything for real. So what does that mean? We don't play farce. We're not trying to be funny. The shows are hilarious because they're hilarious because of the audience. The audience is hilarious.
Actors in the audience, yeah.
Yeah. But we're not trying to be funny. In fact, we're playing it so this really happened because we're all contemporary audiences. We've all seen incredible film and TV, and we can't play farce. We can't be like, haha, kind of hammy. We can't do that. That's atrocious for us. So by playing the reality, the audience goes like, oh wow, it feels like I'm in a TV show or something. And what I say matters, and that's the other part, highly interactive. I tell my actors, the audience, every audience team is your scene partners. So what the audience says, what they do, and what you think they think are all offerings. So if you said something to me, yeah, I can't ignore it. So it allows the audience to be like, oh wow, internal dialogue. Oh wow, what I say makes a difference here, and I can steer this any way I want. So they gain a level of confidence. And the last thing is that we give it to you. We are real, so that if you and I are besties, right, and we go to which we should be, but if we go see an experience like this, right, it's one thing. But if you're my boss and I'm an intern, it's a little bit there's a little bit of tension, built-in status tension in there, and we
Yep.
lean into that. So for you to stand up or me to stand up in front of my boss, it takes a little bit of courage. So you'll see side of your employees and your colleagues that you've never seen before.
Yeah. Yeah. And those are the lessons, right, that I want to talk about now. Of you had to figure some of this happened organically, and then you've leaned into some of it when you see, okay, okay, okay. Um, the lessons you've learned in team building, because it's not just a trust fall, right?
No.
It's not any of that silliness,
Yeah.
but the value of team building. And you mentioned a few things there that I want to talk about a little bit. That being interactive is essential.
Yep.
Everybody's voice is important because often in any group setting, whether it's corporate or whether it's a baseball team,
Yep.
you've got a group of people. There's some people that are going to be up front. You've got the team
Yep.
captains, whether they're
We call them
elected.
we call them bulldogs. Those are the
Right,
ones that are
right.
blah, 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 and then the quiet ones. So we actively reach out to everybody, and that's another beauty of what happens in virtually, right? So I see your name. What do you think, Denise? Why are you letting him ask me these questions, Denise? So I'm calling you by your name, and we reach out to everybody. So we include everybody. It becomes very inclusive.
Right, right. And it's the letting people who in the office or in whatever team you're on, that are naturally more quiet. Maybe it's because they are shy. Maybe it's because they're just internal processors and don't have the need to say things
Right.
as much as the rest of us, like me and you do. Right? Or maybe they feel like they can't. They've been shut down. They've been told no. So they're just I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. I'm gonna slink into the background as much as I can. The value of bringing them out and instilling that confidence that no, we want to hear from you, we need to hear from you, we
Yeah.
can't solve this without you,
Yeah.
kind of a thing,
Yeah.
is so valuable when they get back to the office.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, think about that's the magic of story, right? That's the magic of story. If you think about it, right? I've been saying this lately. If you think of the people who I used to say family, but then I was like, maybe it's just the people that light you up, the people that light you up in your life, whoever they are, right? What do we do with those individuals? 90% of the time. Yes, we have activities that we do. We have a drink, we have dinner, whatever. We play a pinochle, we bowl, whatever. Mostly, we're sharing stories. I'm saying, Denise, oh my God, I have to tell you this thing, right? Sometimes called gossip. That's totally fine. Or you're telling me a story and I'm like listening to your story. We're sharing that back and forth. I mean, that's primal, that's human nature. So, what we do at Live in Theater, the actual stories that are surrounding these mysteries are about real things. They're about relationships. They're about love triangles. They're about revenge. They're about fame. They're about loss. Um, because again, we respect the audience. We can't do something silly. We can't do like a 1980s prom where somebody gets a blow dart to the neck. You know what I mean? Instantly
Right.
it's like it sounds silly, but and it is, and then we're not as connected, so we do something that's really really strong. The storytelling is great, and then we do the interactive, because when you connect, you're given the opportunity to bond like this with somebody, you're like, Denise is hilarious. Oh my God, hey Denise, you want to get grab lunch? And all of a sudden you start forming relationships, because I mean, so we've all been there, a job that we didn't feel like we fit in, or just like it doesn't really matter what I say. So what happens, I just slowly start to check out, and maybe I'm spending way more time on my phone. I'm looking for another job, or the boss says, you're not pulling your weight, you have to go. And the amount of time and energy that takes people, especially corporate, don't have enough opportunities to connect in a way that's significant. And it's not enough for us to work on a project together. It's not enough, you know?
No, because that's all we're still in our same archetypes, right?
Yeah.
Like we're still in our same, here's our lanes. We know what our
Yeah.
lanes are at work,
Yeah.
and I'm not crossing them
Yeah.
because it's a clear structure,
Yeah.
which creates I mean, yes, you can be efficient in that way, but it also creates a hierarchy, which means that those you're limiting people's potential if they feel that they can't cross that boundary or cross that lane. And doing the team building like this
Yeah.
is opens
It,
that
it,
up entirely.
it does. It opens it up, and it allows us to not be manager intern. We're colleagues. We're on the same level, right? It's us against, if anything, the actors, right? Who are giving
Yeah.
us so much sass, and we have to get the courage, and we have to like, all right, we're all talking at the same time. Maybe let's take turns, or maybe let's. Why don't you do that, Denise? And I'll look at the dossier. So people start to collaborate in ways that are super efficient. And again, you can bring that into your work because we have that experience. I feel we had a client, there's still a client, Deutsche Bank, and one of the guys that was always there and on the call, he was telling our lead facilitators, who are the actors that are managing everything on Zoom, and he told our lead facilitator, we consider this training. And she's like, what do you mean? It's like working out for us. We understand what you guys are doing here. And I was so excited to hear that, because again, most people are like, that was so much fun. And there's tons to be said about that. I think it's at the end of the day, Denise, when we were kids, um, when an adult said, go play, right? Hopefully none of us turned around and said, how do you do that? Because we knew how to play. We just knew how to play. As adults, we just become atrophied children. We forget how to play. And we see it all the time. When we have a character talking to an audience member, you see them full grown adults going, oh my God, they're talking. The character's talking to me. It,
Right.
it, it's this childlike, like, oh my God, it's so much fun. And the fun is the vehicle. The mystery is the vehicle. What's at the end of it is bonding in deep ways.
Yeah. And changing the stereotypes, the preconceived notions, right? If you're the boss, if you're the manager, inherently you're the bad guy or the jerk that has to say no to this or that or get back to work, kind of a thing. And you're placed in that box, right?
Yep.
Or if you're the quiet person, oh, they're not really invested, they don't really care, you get placed in that box and you're put over
Yep.
here, and then you're put over, right? And that this, when you get outside of that and realize, oh, maybe they're not a jerk after all, or oh no, maybe they're just really shy, or they're like the E.F. Hutton that when he finally does say something, it's going to be brilliant,
Yeah.
so we need to wait and listen to it, right? Like
Yeah.
there's all of these things that you get to discover and see each other in different ways outside of the boxes we put each other in when we're
Yeah.
at work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's literally, yeah, yeah. We always say, like, you'll see a side of Al from accounting that you've never seen before. And it's, yeah, yeah, again, beyond the fun, beyond the mystery, it's sharing a shared experience that is heartwarming and challenging. The shows are very difficult to solve. See, and to be honest, I think one of the biggest obstacles in solving it, and we have like maybe 40% of the groups get it right, is that you're quite honestly laughing your butt off in the middle of it all. So trying to keep the story narrative together to understand
Right.
It takes a lot of focus. It takes a lot of critical thinking, asking the right questions. And it's all just fun because even the people that don't get it right are like, oh man, we were so close. I should have listened to Denise. I should have listened to Denise, but I had to be the big person. Kind of thing,
That's hilarious. But no, so I want to ask when you talk about team building exercises and doing this, obviously in person is the best, right? In terms of you feel each other's vibe and all of those things. The transition into virtual
Yeah,
opens the experience up to so many more people.
for
As you
sure.
said, you're doing 400 to 600 shows a year. My
Yeah.
heavens.
Yeah.
So more people get to experience it. Does it take away? Have you found a difference in the takeaway from in person versus virtual?
We still do in-person shows for companies that want to book us and bring us to them. Obviously, the costs are much, much higher. We do them in New York, in the tri-state New York area, and but yeah, we can go across the country if anybody wants. To be honest, I'm I'm biased on the virtual. I feel like and for me, if I'm being super honest, part of it is like from a business standpoint, it's so much right? It's so much easier. But I think, like I said earlier, we have elements of things that we can do that is more focused, that it's more immediate. We audiences, just like if you go to our Google reviews, you see people, and that's predominantly from since COVID. So it's all like virtual feedback that they're giving us. And people are like, oh my God, it was so engaging. It was so much fun. It doesn't seem to my actors would be different. The actors would be like, no, it's better in the real world. But there's an efficiency to it. Yeah, and then we're only looking like from the waist up. Do you know what I mean? Which is okay. I'll tell you one thing, like because it's corporate and because it's sometimes it depends. The group can be doing a conference, they can be an offsite. We can do a hybrid. Some people are in the office, some people are calling in from their computers anywhere in the world. Um, but I think more than anything, yeah, I think it's a little bit different, but not much.
Okay, that's interesting. And yes, actors would say, of course it's in person. Of course it's in person. As somebody who does a lot of training and speaking and those sorts of things, for me, in person is always better because I can physically feel
Yeah,
the room. Right? There's
yeah.
you know what I'm talking about. You can
A thousand percent, a thousand percent. I think one of the reasons at least to me, and I'm biased, right? Because again, from the business standpoint, it's so much more efficient, easier. We can reach audiences much more
yeah.
efficiently, so much more affordable for
Mhm.
virtual groups as well. But we're lucky in that our shows are very text heavy. I mean, we're talking, right? We're talking, you're talking, we're all talking. There's a lot of talking. So that is always available to us, even when it's virtual, as opposed to like feeling the room. I understand we're also very adept at like you have to be aware. Like I tell my actors, some we have very large groups, every little box when you're in your private breakout room and there's 10 or 15 audience members, you have to acknowledge everyone. So you have to be like darting, blah, 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 who's saying
And
something.
who just rolled their eyes, who
Yeah, yeah. Who's
right?
who's
Yeah.
who's checked out? We did a very large group of like it was 10 shows that were booked for a company somewhere in Europe and like a Scandinavian country just recently. And one of the facilitators, because there's multiple shows happening at the same time, she was texting me. She was like, these folks are not turning their cameras on and they're not talking. And then she was like, but the chat is out of control. So they were doing everything on the chat, blah, 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 like asking questions. And so the actors had to like respond to the chat, you know?
Yeah.
It was
And maybe that
interesting.
was because of the language barrier. They felt more
Maybe,
comfortable, or maybe it
maybe.
was cultural
Maybe,
that,
yeah,
right?
maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows? And they didn't tell us anything, but they told us it was amazing. But it was like so weird. Like that's tricky for an actor. Oh my God, there's so many videos. Like if you go onto our Instagram, we have videos of like our actors just interacting with audience members, and just the silence, the confidence that they have with just like waiting waiting for an audience member to ask, right? Or some actors will be like, why are you just looking at me? What is wrong? Hello?
Right. Right. Hello, hello.
uh
That's funny.
Hilarious.
Yeah, that's always my favorite trick back in my previous life and investigative reporting of I'll sit, I'll ask the question, I'll sit, I'll wait as long as it takes. And you're done talking and I know you didn't tell me everything. I'll sit and wait.
It's like that teacher trick. I'll wait.
Yeah. And you'll fill the void because naturally we want to fill the void. The silence is uncomfortable. So they'll spill it. They'll say it. They'll do it.
Very
But you
well. That's
gotta,
that's great investigative technique too when you're
yeah.
interrogating
Yeah.
suspects. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So no, that's really fun. But it takes some confidence to do it for sure. And some,
Sure.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But no, I love that. That is so fabulous. So Carlo, sadly, I could sit and talk to you for hours and hours and hours.
I could too.
Um, and we're gonna become besties, so we will.
Okay.
But we are coming to the close of our time today, my
Yes,
darling. Tell us, how can people give us your website? How can people reach out
for
if they're
sure.
interested in learning about team building or learning about how they can experience this amazing thing that you're doing?
And I
How do they
think
do
they
that?
they they should, yeah, they should go to liveintheater.com. It's live or live in theater. The idea is like you're living inside the theater, and theater is theater.com. You can book our shows directly. You can fill out a form, and one of our teams will get a hold of you within 24 hours. We'll talk about like what you're looking for, what size group, where you're from, where you're calling in from. We can set you up with the best possible experience available. You can find us there. You can find me on LinkedIn at Carlo D'Amore, and you can find us on Instagram at Live in Theater.
Perfect. My friend, thank you so much. I am in love with what you do
Awesome.
and
You
so
should definitely
excited
come.
about it. I definitely want to come and I may be like, "Hey, do you need a fill-in actor?" I feel like I want to do it. I'm
I
like
think you'd be
in.
amazing. I think you'd be amazing.
Let's do it. Let's do it, baby. Carla, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate
Thank you
you.
so much, Denise. It was a pleasure. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Well, we hope today's conversation has given you some practical tools to help you sharpen your edge and accelerate your growth. If you're ready to grow your team, your business, or yourself, contact us at thegrowthprogroup.com and set up a free growth call with one of our coaches. Once again, a special thanks to our sponsors, Embed, Party Center Software, ENA Global, Betson, Simnox, Schaefer, and Roller for all that they do to help us bring you the Growth Pro Edge. And until next time, I'm Denise Killian with the Growth Pro Group. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving for the extraordinary.